Hollow Knight is a Metroidvania game released in 2017 by indie developer Team Cherry. This game's evocative art style, beautiful soundtrack, difficult bosses, and seemingly infinite replayability has made it a cult classic with a gigantic following and vehement fanbase waiting for Silksong, which from my limited understanding and knowledge is kinda like waiting for Half-Life 3. After completing Undertale recently, I knew it was a matter of time before Hollow Knight was chosen, and while I was ready for the choice, I wasn't ready for the massive undertaking. Prior to now, I've had zero experience in Hollow Knight, and I had only been exposed to the likes of Sandwich's video on the hardest achievements for it, but I hadn't touched it before, and no matter how much you may watch someone play a game, watching isn't playing. My original goal was just gonna beat the game, but as I learned during the making of content for this video,
I have a problem. I have a serious problem.
But for now, let's dive into how I planned on beating Hollow Knight using only my 2 feet. For what I had planned for my control design, Hollow Knight would need at least 3 very active controller sets, so anti-micro was gonna get swole along with my legs. Every layout had the standard directions, with center as my attack button. My base layout has magic on the down left and down right button. With these, I can tap for any of the magic abilities, and then I can hold it down so I can focus, which is the heal. This way, it doesn't matter if I'm left facing or right facing, I don't need to contort my body to hit a specific button. I know that whatever's behind me is either going to be magic or heals. But the real magic here comes from up left and up right. These buttons aren't actual actions, they are special hold buttons. In anti-micro, I can make it so that when a button is held from one set, it will lead to another control set while that button is held down. So while up left is held down, set 2 is now active, and set 2 has the same directions and attack button as set 1, but the corners change functionality. Set 2's up left is now jump, and this means when I press the swap to set 2 button, I swap to set 2, and since I'm already holding the button down, I am now jumping. From here, the upright arrow on set 2 is dash. This will let me jump dash with the balls of my feet while using my heels to navigate left and right in the air. Kitty corner to the jump buttons is magic. This way, I can jump and use magic, and if I need to let go of jump in order to press up to do a move like Howling Wraiths, the magic button is in the same place in layout 1, so I only need to move 1 foot. As for set 3, you guessed it, set 3 is a mirror of set 2. With my control layouts like this, I can wall hop, I can dash, I can jump dash through confined spaces, and I can confidently pogo on enemies, and attempt other complex motions that the average player needs to perform in order to progress in the game. I can also use 1 or both feet to do quick actions as long as I remember to just roll my foot. What I mean by this is I can use 2 feet to jump on walls, allowing me to hop from one wall to the other, or if I want to be lazy, I can just tap with 1 foot. Since the directional buttons are on every layout, their inputs will keep carrying over. I can also attack above me with 1 foot as long as I remember to roll my foot front to back. I feel like I just made an entire video all on controls alone, but I'm just getting started, but this was so fun. Oh my goodness, here we go! Now before we begin, please be sure that you also have the same 3 starter charms that I do, which are like and subscribe. I start the tutorial area testing out pogoing and spike pits, and yeah, they definitely work. I knock on a big door and enter the main city. So is it Dirtmouth or Dirtmouth? Like Plymouth? How do you say it? Sitting on my first bench, I equip Fury of the Fallen using my keyboard because even though buttons have been remapped, menus in Hollow Knight ignore anti-micro, so it still thinks that my dance pad is a controller and my down arrow is the back button. This doesn't make navigating the map impossible, but it does make navigating the charms menu impossible without a keyboard or analog sticks. So if this was a DDR pad only, I lose. Game over, man. Heading towards the obvious boss icon on the map, I first encounter a Husk Guard, and my sick dancing skills make quick work of him. Woo! Not flawless, but I didn't die. The first boss in my way is the False Knight, and he's a really good introductory boss. Clearly defined animations, distinct sound effects to go along with each of the attacks, and it's at such a great pace that new players can still feel the burn. He met his untimely death to me pretty quickly though. I learned Vengeful Spirit, and I then rescued the first of many grubs behind a breakable wall, giving away more hints of this game's great sound design and its relationship with the Metroidvania genre. I head back to the surface and talk to Iselda and snag myself the Compass Charm and then equip it and the Soul Catcher, which will be staple charms throughout the majority of my run. Going back to explore paths I haven't taken yet, I go to my second grub and my absurd confidence starts to show. Absolute Radiance win? Little did I fucking know. For now, I go to fight Gru's mother. Here, I smack that buggy booty whenever she's giving herself a concussion, and then I clear out the babies that spawn and move forward. I wake up Sly and then explore the map some more. Cornwallis, Cornifer. I save Zote and kill his attacker, the Vengefly King. Boom! Oh, my weapon, the Life Ender. Is it because you bore everyone to death? Is it because so many people have to come to your rescue, they end up fucking dying? Pretty soon, my first death came at the hands of 2 Moss Knights, and then my second death wasn't too long after that, but I never recovered my shade, meaning I lost my 1100 Geo, which is pretty demoralizing as that was the most currency I've had at one time so far. I get my revenge on all parties involved and make my way to the first real boss fight against Hornet. Much like every game that I play, I spend much of this milestone battle jumping around the boss's attacks to learn animations, sound cues, and trying to find a way to capitalize on all of these moves instead of only avoiding them. Now, my major issue with Hornet was her high jumps. She can either jump really high and do a targeted dash to my location, jump and hover to do an aerial whip attack, or just hop on top of my head. Without any upgrades and tons of inexperience, there weren't many ways to avoid her attacks if I assumed that the wrong attack was incoming. A big positive to one of her attacks was Needle Throw, because I could use this to get pogo hits in or heal if necessary. 4th time's the charm and I got Mothwing Cloak, which means I can now dash. Day 1's major issue aside from inexperience was a pad issue where the up left jump button wouldn't press down all the way, resulting in short hops and failed jumps. However, this did appear to only be a hardware issue instead of software, as all I did was reposition the panel and tighten the screws, and that seemed to fix it. On Anti-Micro, I added 2 new layouts to the left and right arrows, putting dash below left and right. While I thought this started out to be a good idea, it ended up being a massive detriment, as if I pressed too many buttons flip-flopping between changing sets, I would get locked into a random control set and I would need to do whatever button mashing I did in reverse to go back to start. So instead, I just added double tap to dash on left and right. Day 2, I fight Massive Moss Charger. Day 2, I die to Massive Moss Charger. And then I forget that I have dash and I take an acid bath. Acid baths. Along the way to Fungal Wastes, I encounter Millibel the Banker, where I ask a question to my chat, and I'm not really given a real answer.
Should I bank? That's not a yes or a no, that's declaring a noun. Okay, should I bank? Bank!
The Concussion Twins almost kill me, but almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, and I get my first charm notch before acquiring the Mantis Claw. After a bit of wall climbing and lever flipping, I go face to face with the Mantis Lords. The first Mantis shows the mechanics incoming with this fight, but after beating her, I get to fight the other 2 at the same time.
Bring it!
My only real mistake here was trying to pogo the projectiles when fighting the pair, as there's a solid chance that their next attack is going to be a charging across the ground, which is a guaranteed hit since I don't have double jump or desolate dive yet.
Yeah!
Before I get to the next major area, I need to do some platforming that utilizes the newly acquired Mantis Claw along with some dashing. After doing this and doing some exploring, I finally make it to the city of Ooh! And locate the Nailsmith, who will upgrade the damage of my nail.
Talking about my nail is in quite a sorry state. Look, okay, I haven't got a manicure yet. Pedicures tickle really bad.
Back in the main room, I get into a nail-biting fight with a flying sentry. This pits melee attack versus melee attack in a battle of skill and wits and shows who has more sheer athleticism and... I eventually find the next boss at the top of Soul Sanctum, Soul Master. His use of Desolate Dive was a bit surprising, and me not having Shade Cloak yet means I couldn't dash through him. I had to pogo him if he ran across the ground, and I had to jump over any orbs if he decided to go across the arena. He wasn't too bad though, and my second attempt nets me Desolate Dive. The Royal Waterways are my next adventure, and I quickly find my way to a Hollow Knight community favorite, the Dung Defender. My only problem with him is timing my back and forth motions when he throws dung balls and when he crests the poop like a fecal dolphin. Man, I had the perfect spot to say a fecal flipper. Anyway, I detour to the Abyss where I almost enter a room, but then I chicken out. But I do come back to this room eventually, as it does have a pale ore that I need for upgrading my nail, and happen my way to a bench that's next to a massive chasm. It was here that I realized I don't even need to be here, and this specific traversal back up is very difficult for new players to climb out of with Monarch Wings, and I find this out the fun way. I eventually farm enough Geo to buy the Lumifly Lantern and enter the new area, Crystal Peak. This place has enemies that are only destructible by magic, these fucking guys, and meat grinders.
It's not a meat grinder, it's an orphan stomper.
Oh, and a Crystal Guardian taking a nap on a bench. I opt to explore a bit more of the map instead, and I oopsie my way to the Monument of the Watchers, who I need to kill to access the final fight of the game. This detour also brings me to the Dream Nail and the final button I need to add to the controller layout. Since I've never tried to focus while jumping, the highest probability is I'm going to be jumping and using magic whenever I'm on sets 2 or 3, so my magic button was turned into casting magic if I tap, and Dream Nail if I hold. This is different from set 1 where I tap for magic and hold for focus. I use this new Dream Nail assignment on one of a few Dream Essence trees to begin my long road to collecting 2400 essence. I eventually make my way back to the Crystal Guardian and, attempt to liberate the bench. There's no time to heal in this fight, and occasionally 3 to 4 more beams will come from the roof, which limits my movement for a short time. At this point, I don't have double jump and I don't have shade cloak, so I need to do a full jump over his beam or try to pogo on top of his head. The path to the Crystal Dash involves a nice jumping puzzle segment, the first real one that reminds me of Mario Kaizo levels or jumping puzzles in Guild Wars 2. Getting the Crystal Dash gives me yet another need to map a button, but this wasn't really too hard of a decision. The inventory and map button on sets 2 and 3 are such an unnatural position for me to be in during gameplay, so I made inventory and map the tap, and I made the hold Crystal Dash. Wanting to clear out more of the map, I accidentally find Brooding Moloch. This boss is interestingly designed as he's pretty difficult for a newbie, and he's also a challenge for veteran players who come here early in speedruns as they don't have many upgrades nor shade cloak. His side swipes don't let me stick to the side as he mortars goop at me, and I want to dash through him, but I can't yet. I recognize that on the platform, Moloch is the perfect height to jump over, so when he does the goop rain, I can either dash over him or pogo across him to safety. Hoping to cool down after this boss fight, I head back to the tutorial area and scale a tunnel that I remember seeing at the beginning of the game that couldn't be reached because I obviously didn't have Mantis Claw back then. This path leads me to Howling Cliffs, where I find a Dream Essence tree, fight Gorb, unlock the Grim Troop, and acquire Cyclone Slash, which leads me to a PSA. Hi, I'm Flipsy McFloplin. Do you or someone you know have contact with Team Cherry? Every day, innocent gamers are wrecked, destroyed, and dunked on, and they're crying out for help. Please, let us equip and unequip nail arts. For a one-time payment of just a few checkboxes in the menu, a few clicks of the mouse can help rescue gamers who have unconventional controllers from having severe limitations that negatively impact most movements in the game. Call or join online in the next 30 minutes and you'll receive this welcome kit with a photo of a gamer in distress right now, one who's been given a second chance thanks to you. Psych, it's probably just me. Let's be real. If you're going to ask players if they want to take a skill optionally, there should be a way to not be forced to have it active in the event that it ends up being regrettable. This affects the following list of common movements in-game, such as attack, jump, dash, shade soul, howling wraiths, desolate dive, jump dash, jump in magic, crystal dash, pausing, and focus. Without your donation, gamers like myself can't do any of the following with a nail art learned. Oh look, here's our surprise co-sponsor. Now that's what I call a lot of things that I can't fucking do. Volume 1. Without knowing this beforehand, Cyclone Slash was learned 14 hours into the game, and with no way to disable it, the game almost had to be fully restarted. So please, let's band together and fix this for the love of UX. This lack of simple design hurts gamers from an accessibility standpoint. There's a gamer out there who needs you, and your call says, I'm here to help. After editing my save file and manually removing Cyclone Slash to start day 3, I begin the next day getting the shit scared out of me by the Dung Defender. Get it?
Huh?
Shit scared out of me?
Whoa, God! Damn! Dude, what? The fuck?
I eventually traverse this massive chasm, and after venturing further, I kill some goop mortars and then take a slight detour.
I'm in the butthole!
My exploration comes to an end when I happen across this room. As with most bosses in the game, without Shade Cloak, Broken Vessel is a handful. His ground slash covers a majority of the floor, meaning jumping over him is the only way to survive getting hit. Pogoing is dangerous as he enjoys either jumping across the arena at varying distances, or he'll jump above me to do his own infected desolate dive. He also does an aerial slash, but it doesn't cover as much distance as the ground slash. He also flails if I get too close to him. At times, he'll jam out to his favorite Nickelback song and a bunch of orange goop will come up from the ground in random places, but during this, I can carefully bitch slap him for his poor taste in music. Killing him grants me the Monarch Wings, allowing me to double jump and giving me access to almost every area in the game. With newfound confidence, I try my hand at his dream form, Lost Kin.
When in Rome, I'm dead.
I don't think I'm coordinated enough for this yet. I find the hidden stag station near the ruins of White Palace and then head to Forgotten Crossroads to find out I accidentally made the game world a bit harder, as the crossroads are no longer forgotten, they're fucking infected. The biggest change here is flying infected are thick with 6 Cs and explode on death. Some of the smaller enemies also explode and spew out goop, and everything's orange. I head through a spiked tunnel that I can now crystal dash through and find my Nightmare Gangbang, an arena of all flying enemies and a spiked floor. While these aren't primal aspids, these fuckers combined are a nightmare to deal with. The saving grace here was their AI will make them path harmlessly into the top platform, which allows healing. On top of that, the aspid mothers spawn a limited amount of minis, meaning once I can survive the 5 baby gnats that they poop out, they're nothing more than decoration. Another helpful thing that I found out is if I start each wave at the top platform, it lets me get rid of one of the aspid hunters immediately. Funny side note, if the gate closes, you can still hit your shade through it. I head towards the site of where I fought False Knight and see 2 sperms mourning the loss of the first boss, and then I dream mail him to encounter his dream variant, the Failed Champion. Or as I like to call him, holy fucking shit, ow! He doesn't have the lengthy tells that False Knight had, making his attacks flow very quickly. He also does double damage. So I double dip the fuck out to explore some more and happen my way to a vessel fragment, but it's guarded by a bug gauntlet. My ever-increasing confidence kept me going as I kept getting dunked on, but the sheer amount of flying enemies that I had to overcome here while trying to dance my way over the ground enemies made this more trouble than I think it was worth, but only half a dozen attempts were needed before victory was achieved. The Watcher's Spire houses the first dreamer, Lurien the Watcher. But first I need to kill 6 Watcher Knights. 5 Watcher Knights! Even with the -1, this fight is still quite rough without, you guessed it, Shade Cloak. As if one decides to roll while the other decides to bounce, it's basically unavoidable. There's about 2 seconds of downtime between their attacks, so if I make them sync up attacks, there's enough empty space for me to get a heal off. Eventually they're all murdered and Lurien should have chosen a different profession because now he gets to watch me beat his ass. I go back to the surface to buy the elegant key from Sly and see the Grim Troop. Troop Master Grim gives me a Grim Child charm, but I shove that little guy into my back pocket for later. I need more Geo, so I head over to your mom's house and get my money back from the banker that wasn't a banker at all, but at least she gives interest on my deposit. I buy all the charms, mask shards, vessel fragments, and charm notches that I can, and then head to Royal Waterways to work my way towards Yzma's tier so I can swim in spicy water without getting hurt. Now with Monarch Wings, I can enter the next portion of Crystal Peak beyond the Crystal Guardian boss room. But I was not ready for Crystal Guardian the sequel, now with double the health, double the speed, and double the ouch. Scaling the rest of the zone, I finally find my first Pale Ore, which I can use to upgrade my nail again. At Kingdom's Edge, I get into a milestone rematch against Hornet.
La Fenu Venido. La Fenu Venido, bitch.
Hornet truly is just a masterpiece in good boss design, as her kit is basically the same, with the only additions being Traps on a Stick and Parry. And even though I have more abilities in my repertoire than the last time we fought, she's still a formidable foe. Performance drops plus the increase in speed of dance pad inputs caused this fight to be the first of many instances that would cause me to be locked in with the wrong control set like I had mentioned earlier. A lock-in requires me to do the offending button combination in reverse, so a lock-in here basically means a quick death. The mixture of being foot flipped and still not being confident with combat caused me to stiffen up quite a bit here. I'm not sure if my need to always clear out traps so I have a clear getaway was divine luck or a smart game plan, but 17 attempts and the King's brand is mine.
Step 1. I got the King's brand. Step 2. Where the fuck is the King's brand?
Further exploring Kingdom's Edge, I accidentally find the Colosseum of Fools, which are 3 trials that let me fight waves of enemies for geo and some rewards. I attempt the first trial as a Charm Knot sure seems lovely. Primal Aspids take their rightful spot as my most hated enemy, so I leave to go progress the game with the King's brand instead. Activating the lighthouse in the abyss, a splish splash, I was riding the raft, getting soaked at the Shade Cloak water park. This beautiful upgrade to Dash allows me to pass through enemies and shadow gates, which means that I have access to the entire map now. I go back to Fog Canyon and enter the Queen's Gardens to oopsie my way to the final spell that I've been missing, Howling Wraiths. However, this spell icon looks a lot like a room that I saw when I went to the Abyss, so I head all the way back down and enter the room created by what I can only describe as pure level design genius, and I shout into the sky to upgrade Howling Wraiths into Abyss Shriek. I go back to the room in Ancient Basin that I was hesitant to enter earlier that looked like a boss room. As it turns out, it was a small fight against 2 small Molochs, 2 Smalliks, that are guarding a Pale Ore. In my quest for more upgrades, I get the Shade Soul upgrade from City of Tears and my 3rd Pale Ore from the Seer so I can upgrade my nail 2 more times. I make another attempt at the first trial at the Colosseum, the Trial of the Warrior, and I complete it without too much trouble at all. This gives me the confidence to go ahead and kill Zero, Marmu, Flukemarm, Markoth, Elder Hu, Galleon, and No Eyes without much difficulty as soon as I run into them.
These nuts. Ha! Got him!
I rename Deep Nest to Troll Nest, but the tricks don't stop here as I get stuck to a bench and put into the lair of the beast. Unfortunately for these idiots, the beast is one of the 3 dreamers that I need to kill anyway, so I smack her down and come down to see that they all committed Sudoku in my absence. I hurry up and join the world of public transportation as I find a tram pass, and then I pick up Sharp Shadow. Easily killing Nosk gets me the first of 3 Pale Ore towards my final nail upgrade. Sharp Shadow helps me further in completing the second trial, Trial of the Conqueror, and I get my 2nd Pale Ore, and I take my victory party to the Hive. Hive Knight takes a few lives from me, but I do get Hive Blood, which regenerates 1 mask of health over a short period of time after taking damage, as long as I don't take more damage. This can be used along with Grub Song to make almost any puzzle traversable by simply waiting, and this was vital as I was planning on doing White Palace and Path of Pain. My next order of business was to fill out the Grimchild's first phase, but I stop off at the Grubfather to get my final Pale Ore to upgrade my nail one last time. What did I do with the Nailsmith here? I left him alone. I'm not a savage. What the fuck is wrong with you? I go spelunking in the Crystallized Mound to find Descending Dark, the upgrade to Desolate Dive, and also the final skill upgrade that I've been missing. However, I also take the other path and head towards a grub and die. But I don't want to come all the way back here, so I finally have a use for my 15 rancid eggs. I open the door to Confessor Gigi, who will summon the player's shade and all of its geo for the low cost of 1 rancid egg. I go to Green Path and make my way across another route that I couldn't traverse because I didn't have Crystal Dash yet. Sadly, this path was a stupid one as I just did all of this work to reach Paintmaster Sheo, who will give me a nail art that I can't take. I take my defeat to Fog Canyon and buy my final map from Cornifer and find Professor Quirrell outside the teacher's archives. And here is the final watcher whose name I don't care to remember. Sadly, for me to get to it, I need to
Wake the Umu.
This waiting simulator is pretty dry as Quirrell needs to slash at Umu for me to damage it, all while I keep dodging the Umu's attacks. Eventually, Professor Quirrell shouts out a really cool streamer to help me get the final hit on Umu. The last watcher has been bopped and absorbed, so the Black Egg Temple is unlocked for me to beat the game.
But where's the fun in that? I begin to feel my age, bruh. Me too.
While I originally was planning on just beating the game, I kept diving further and further into the rabbit hole of just decimating Hollow Knight, so I decided to make it as far as I could into the game comfortably, as I didn't want to burn out on a challenge that I ultimately didn't like, but I also didn't know all that lied ahead in the first place. The max completion percentage on Hollow Knight is 112%, but because I can't get any nail arts, I also can't get the Nail Master's Glory Charm, meaning the highest percentage I can get is 108%. So from here, my goal for Hollow Knight became 108%. With everything I've done up until now, I've got a 94.17% completion rate, only 13.83% to go. What I thought was a final jumping puzzle to an item that I can pick up turned into a 1-hour detour as I accidentally find my way to Traitor Lord, a boss that does double damage with every one of his attacks. I get a hint thrown at me that when he's rumbling his way through the roof, his hitbox still exists, so Abyss Shriek will do early damage to him, which alleviates some fight fatigue. Defeating Traitor Lord unlocks access to the White Lady, where we get 1/2 of the King's Soul, cementing my need to do White Palace. Pour one out for Cloth, though.
What? Oh!
From here, I sell enough artifacts to make 15,000 Geo so I can upgrade Fragile Strength into Unbreakable Strength, and then enter the Love Key door to find Jerome Jar. I hunt down the Dream bosses, taking out Failed Champion, Lost Kin, White Defender, and Soul Tyrant without much issue, and then I finish up the Grim Child to fight Troop Master Grim. Afterwards, I probe his brain to fight his dream form, Nightmare King Grim. There are quite a few tips for NKG that I talk about in my Pantheon 5 video, and the full video of my first successful fight is in the description. I awaken the Dream Nail, and then I hear the Seer's final words to tie up this loose end before moving on. The next thing on the list was White Palace to get the other half of the King's Soul. White Palace is one of 2 incredibly difficult locations in the game world that require expert platforming and the use of well-timed dashing, double jumps, and pogos to traverse through this dream location. Hazards are in very specific locations, allowing for you to take some time to assess some of what's in front of you, but also forcing you to sight read hazards along the way and then remember them later. The other difficult platforming location is also in here, known as the Path of Pain. And while the Path of Pain is not in this video, there is a link to the Path of Pain run in the description as well. From here, I only had 2 grubs, 2 mask shards, and 1 vessel fragment left to collect, so I dropped money in the Ancient Basin Fountain for the last vessel fragment, and then I saved Bretta so I can access her home and one of the mask shards. I don't read her journal or whatever because I don't want to fight Grey Prince Zote. By not fighting him, he won't show up in the Pantheons, and he doesn't even count as a completion percentage, so I'm perfectly fine with skipping him entirely. 5 delicate flowers met their untimely end before I got the final mask shard. Being fully decked out on my stats, I head to the Colosseum to do the Trial of the Fool. That is also its own video, link is also in the description. I equip the King Soul, get Void Heart, and then enter the realm of the Pantheon's Godhome.
Sheboygan! Thou crawler, thou cringer, thou smallest of small, you have not been on TikTok.
There are 5 total Pantheons, but only the first 4 Pantheons give completion percentage.
I'm going to assume by the term bindings, that means limitation. And I am, what one would call already handicapped.
Pantheon of the Master wasn't too bad, as it rehashes some of the easiest bosses in the game. The final fight is against Oro and Motto, and while the 2-on-1 fight can be intimidating, there are some patterns that they have to make this fight easy for even the laziest of gamers. The most important trick that I found is once you have to fight both of them together, they will pretty much always piggyback their attacks, and the air swipe is really easy to dodge if you jump up at this height while they are coming down with their attack. If either of them use their nail arts, Cyclone Slash or Dash Slash, this is their AI's attempt at getting on either side of you to sandwich you. So once you see a nail art charging up, be ready to D-Dark and dash to safety. Going into P2, I recognized that I wasn't using magic too often, so I swapped Shaman Stone for Mark of Pride for extra range on my nail attack. Oblobbles almost got me in the second Colosseum, but they definitely got me here, and then Sheo being a completely new fight to me got me once, but Attempt 3 unlocked Pantheon 3. Pantheon 3 is a dramatic step up in challenge, and I swap out my charms to this after 9 failed attempts. Of all the bosses here, Umu and God Tamer were my biggest problem. One thing to remember with Umu is that it's invulnerable when doing the summoning animation, so hitting the Umas into it won't do anything, and it won't deflate it. The one trick that I found with God Tamer is when the beast backs up, don't move. You're being given just enough space to not get hit by the goop. Obviously, move or D-Dark if the God Tamer jumps in to attack you, but if you're in a safe location and it's just you and the beast, don't move. Pantheon of the Sage ends with a fight against the great Nail Sage Sly, but his antics are honestly so trivial that I defeat him on my first try and I move on to Pantheon 4. The final Pantheon for completion is Pantheon of the Night, filled with mostly dream bosses and double damage bosses. The real nightmare is the final boss, Pure Vessel. This is what I assumed the Hollow Knight was before it became affected by the infection. It deals double damage, moves super fast, and has some near impossible telegraphs for me to read on the dance pad, which ultimately forced my hand and I had to go practice him in the Hall of the Gods, which is a place where you can choose to fight specific bosses under certain conditions. After 4 hours of practice with Pure Vessel, I pinned down its patterns to get my first win against him on a tuned difficulty, which would be the same conditions as if I fought him in P4. After meeting Pure Vessel 3 times in Pantheon 4, we finally got the run. Upon defeating Pure Vessel, I've done everything I needed to hit 108% completion. So I head back to the Black Egg Temple and I fight the infected form of Pure Vessel, the Hollow Knight. Okay, wait, hold up. I gotta get this off my chest. Let's move Dami Moth Mommy out of the way and just look at this kerning. What the fuck is this? Adobe? No, wait. Carol Twombly. Who hurt you in the making of this font? Look at these fucking letters. And the R. Here's the word radiance in that same font. Team Cherry, I can respect you purposely increase the size of the R in Radiance to make it look like a capital letter, but you still let the R and the A touch. You could have moved it over a little bit. You did it with the Hollow Knight. The K and N are touching but not overlapping, so you clearly made space. Not as much space as I made, but you can see an effort was still made. I'm sorry, I had to really get that pent up anger out. I just had to release it, sorry. Radiance is the true big bad here, and she's not a pushover with so many new attacks to learn and multiple phases to power through. Her main attacks are she shoots orbs that loosely track the player, 3 sets of 8 light beams will shoot out of her face that need to be dodged, a beam of light creeps across the screen from either the left or the right, and then blades. Just blades. They come from her face, the ceiling, the carpet, the walls. She must be a fan of Wesley Snipes or something. The first 3 phases are on the same floor, with phase 1 being an introduction to the fight. Phase 2, she periodically sections off half the platform with floor spikes that can be removed with a D-Dark. And then phase 3, where she stands in the center and has blades rain from the sky until I hit her enough times. Phase 4 is known as Floorless, where all of her previous attacks, aside from Skyblades, are still in play, but instead of a big platform for me to stand on, there's a bunch of small floating platforms. Most of my 16 deaths came from second phase and Floorless, as I had severely limited space in both of these phases to maneuver around all the attacks, but thankfully Radiance's attacks are so slow that there's a lot of breathing room in between them. Eventually beating this phase introduces me to the Climb. Radiance will laser down from the stratosphere and I need to hop my way up a stairway to heaven to reach her so I can bury my nail into her forehead and put an end to the heart of the infection. As the credits roll, and having finally beaten Hollow Knight, I must say, this is yet another game where I am both incredibly unhappy that I hadn't played it earlier when I first heard about it, but I'm also glad that I waited until I had a dance pad so I could make it the constant gratifying challenge from start to finish that I had hoped this would be. But Flipsy, I hear you saying, you showed a clip of you fighting Absolute Radiance in the start of the video. Did you really do Pantheon 5? Why yes, astute viewer, I did. Check that video out and other videos on my channel and be on the lookout for my next challenge, or come join me on stream. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good one.
Guys, I think I made the perfect controller. Not to get too full of myself. I think I might be a genius. Are you gonna give me more goop juice? Don't call it that. But that's what it is, and everything even makes like squishy fart noises. I'm glad I'm at the portion of a relationship where my significant other's just gonna murder me instead. Hey buddy, how you doing? He's my best friend. I love Stag Beetle. Stag Beetle's so cute. Look at that. That's adorable. I love him so much. I misread that as those who stray from the White King's roads shall face the law of like they forgot what they were writing and they wrote O'Reilly's Auto Parts. Oh man, I will not apologize for that. That was good. That was comedy gold. No one told me. This was pertinent. Need to know information. Two for the price of one! Hell yeah, I can go out the no! Here, I'll put you guys out of your misery. Ow, I'll put myself out of my misery. Fuck! Ah, god damn, that's fucking creepy. Oh, come on. Come on. Well, that's the end of stream, guys. Thank you. I will be going to play Peppa Pig. Be sure to sub to my OnlyFans because I'm only here for looks. There we go. That gave me so much trouble earlier, and in reality, I just needed to not be bad. Who would have thought? Wait, but why are these not cracked, but these are? I'm never gonna stop exploring, am I? Memorial to the Hollow Knight, roll credits. The Yolk Abba Absinthe Outer Shelligate contain lightum vesselum egum silver withdrawal. Exterior o seal within dreamer and twixt. You're not you when you're hungry. Contain like their dream chaba ungrowth contain. King lightum growth in kind flow all think and feel the old light m essence m dream m ungrowth o and think abba king light to old light then kin o think flow abba dream uncontained sir ungrowth and life of absence their abundance shell outer o inner place in absence their void liquid substance o weave absence inner o shell outer their mater peer to void vessel absence all outer contain. I mean, it makes perfect sense, Valora. I don't know what's confusing about this.